Test, test, test. Hello, can y'all hear me? Test. Trying to get this started, and then I'll get up on the under the camera and start soldering. If you can hear me, please let me know so I know if I need to fix anything. Test, test. Alright, if you can. Okay, cool. I'm gonna post it on Instagram real quick, and then I will get to it. Got on a little later than I wanted to. I ended up working on the Signal Sleuth logo for a lot longer than I expected. Okay, almost there. I also need to find a way so I can view the chat while I'm up at my workbench without having to look at my computer. I should be able to look at it on my phone. Alright, there we go. Got it posted. Alright, let's see if I can get to the chat real quick on my phone. Okay, let's see. Okay. So I think I can see the live chat there. Let's get some of this stuff out of my way. So yeah, if you got any questions or want to know anything, just want to chat, just go ahead and post them and I'll answer them as I'm doing this. If I don't see it right away, just give it a second and I'm sure I'll see it. So when I'm doing a bunch of these Wardrivers, assembling a bunch of them, I do try to do, you know, kind of like an assembly line and do batches at a time. So like I've got all my A boards already programmed, my B boards, my screens and wires. And then a bag of just all of the actual ward drivers with how far I've got so far. Get my soldering iron on. So it looks like we've got about 6 people on with me now. Thanks for joining. Alright. So, like I said, I'm really just here to hang out. I'm gonna be assembling all of, or as many of these ward drivers as I can. They take me a while, so we'll see how many I get through. I still need to order some more PCBs. I'm gonna either do that tonight after this live stream or first thing in the morning. Just depends on how long this live stream goes. It may go quite a while because I am very behind on these assembled ward drivers. So I've got 10 or so of these ward drivers that I've already got the GPS, the micro SD, and the SIM module on, along with all the other little diodes and temperature sensors and stuff. So now it's just a matter of putting them on, and as usual, I forget which board or which one of these is A. I believe this one's A and this one's B, but let me double check real quick. I need to figure out how to add background music for whoever joins in with me to be able to listen to. But I haven't spent a whole lot of time figuring out Wardriver. I haven't spent a whole lot of time figuring out live streams. I'd like to, but I'm so far behind on so many other things. I've got a ton of YouTube videos I want to work on. I've got one in the works that's just because of shipping and stuff is going to take probably another month if I can get started on it like I want. Okay, see, good thing I checked. This is B, this is A. Okay. chat back open. Let's get to it. So my P-boards. The screens, and the screens is what truly takes me the longest. It's what I dread. I wish the screen would just slot in like all these other components do here, and on the new Signal Sleuth they will. So I'll go a lot quicker. Hey Jamie. Got your sticker. For some of you that have ordered these assembled, some of my batch of ESP32s came with the C variant, so some of you will have the C variant. And of course I'm putting that in the wrong spot. It's typically what I do is I just throw the ESP in, solder it on real quick, because before I solder all these on the back I typically go ahead and trim all of the header pins off just so they'll solder pretty smooth. So now that that's done, it's time to add a screen. I really want, so this one I'll probably go ahead and build all the way through, just because there's a couple of tricks I've kind of figured out with putting them in the cases to keep from breaking these that a lot of people have had issues of, and I want to be able to clip that part and post it on YouTube in a separate as its own video, because it has caused a lot of issues with the kits I've sent out. It's caused a lot of issues with me. I've broken screen after screen after screen, so we'll get this one done completely through here in just a minute. So I do rip these all apart. Hey Proto, it's good to see you. Like I've mentioned, if y'all have any questions or want to ask anything about, the Wardrivers, the Signal Sleuth, anything, go ahead and post them. There's not a whole lot for me to say in the actual assembly of these until we get to the mounting the screen into the case. So I don't want to just talk or be saying nothing. Like I said, I really need to figure out how to add music to the live stream without messing up anything or getting copyright strict. Soldering iron is about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else special. I mean, soldering iron, some flush cuts, 8mm wrench for the antennas, and tweezers. I mean, and a lot of this is just the tweezers are just nice to have for different things. I do use helping hands, but again, that's really just a nice to have. It's not a requirement. These are actually pretty new. I just started using these helping hands before these helping hands, everything has been just here on the mat. Yeah, I tried streaming on Twitch once, and it's probably still fine. But I have everything else on YouTube. I didn't want to keep up with another platform. And it seems, with a lot of the stuff I've heard about Twitch, everybody's just going to being stuck on YouTube as well. So for these screens, I go ahead and tin the holes. And I do stick with red for voltage, black for ground. I didn't really come up with a standard for the SCL and SDA, but they're easy to see from underneath the they're easy to see from under once you have A covering them still. I do have a couple that just without the screen I've run into issues with. For some reason the screens didn't work, and from what I gathered, I think some of the strands from the wire were jumping some of these, which kept them from working. So you do want to make sure you I twist the ends a little bit. Just make sure you get all of the strands in the hole if you can. At minimum, double check it before you put A over them. See, we got 6 guys on. Did any of you pre-order the Signal Sleuth? I should have stripped these before, but you ordered 2 of the Signal Sleuth or of the Wardrivers? I'm not the pre-order for the Signal Sleuth has been, I haven't had it going for a little while now, but I am just finally about to release it. I think I need to test some stuff. I'm about to order the PCBs, and as long as everything works, I'll be releasing it. This is what the Signal Sleuth originally looked like. It's changed a lot. I've made it more friendly for people to buy as kits. Easier to build, easier all around, but still has upgraded options compared to the standard Wardriver. It'll have the 5 GHz still. It'll have 2 different options for GPS. It'll have the option for really still whatever battery pack you want to put on it, but I am designing it specifically around a battery board that is for 4 18650s. So that ought to be interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah. So hopefully soon, I will finally be offering it. I will be assembling those for all the pre-orders. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do special for all the pre-orders. Originally, I was going to do a custom 3D printed case, and that may still be the case, but that was the original plan, and it may not be so much custom. It may be the same case, but I may like embed uh, like some special text into the case or something. For sure, y'all will get what I consider to be an easier to use and nicer GPS as long as everything works. So that'll be one bonus. And y'all are also going to be getting a pretty good discount for what they're going to actually cost whenever I release them for everybody else, because all of these modules together add up quick. So that $100 price tag for not only for a kit, but also for me to assemble it, it's probably going to be about $100 just for the kit in the future. I don't know for sure. It may be more, it may be less, but y'all are definitely getting in better pricing than future assembled versions of the Signal Sleuth. It's like with the Wardrivers, I currently just do black for all my cases now. I stopped offering colors just because it ended up being a lot trying to keep them all. And I ended up with a bunch of colors that nobody wanted. So I ended up with a bunch of... I'd buy one roll for only someone to buy just one or two of them. And then have that roll almost just go to waste because there's not a whole lot more I print than these cases. So SCL goes into the SCK slot on the screen, and the SDA goes to SDA. What's up? How's it going, man? Okay, so see, I don't know if y'all can see that in the camera. Probably too far away, but just one strand of this bunched up. And all it would have to do is just go short over to one of the other ones, and that would make the screen such a pain. Which I know is why you're supposed to tin these, but still. He was in here for a while. Wouldn't be surprised if he still is, but I don't have the list fully up. Yep, there he is. Thank you for being patient. Yes, my hands are full, and it's been hard for me to had a lot of things going on, so it's been a hard time for me to actually sit down and be able to do a whole lot of them. But I am working on them. I haven't forgot about y'all. So thanks for the patience and support. Send something real quick. Let me see. Get y'all's opinion. Okay. Oh, never mind. I was gonna try and show y'all the logo I came up with, but black phone, dark mode with a black logo PNG. It's kind of hard to open up without right away. So. So with this board here, you do want to keep it pretty slanted just in case you ever do need to plug directly into it to flash anything. Everything's supposed to flash pretty well over the air now, but there's always might run into something. Alright. And turn off for a second. Not turn off, but get off the screen. And trim all these. That may be another thing that slows me down with these things is instead of just busting them out, I do try to do everything as if it was my own. I want it to be just right. If it doesn't work, it ends up in a pile that I'll tinker with later. So. So ideally, not ideally, but you don't really have to solder every one of these. You really only need to solder the ones that actually have something going to it. But I haven't taken the time to figure that out, or memorize it anyway. I figured it out, because that's how I built the signal sleuth. So anybody else working on anything fun? Get some chat going on in here. After I get this one done too, I can show y'all, if you're interested, the Signal Sleuth logo. See what y'all think about it. I think I'm going to make some shirts out of it. I came out pretty good in my opinion. It's not perfect because I'm definitely not a graphic artist kind of guy, but I did what I could. There are 13 people in here now. Thank y'all for joining. Alright, let's see. Let's get a SD card in it, get some power to it, see if it's working. There we go, screen works. Now let's see if we can get it into a case without it breaking. First we do need to add the battery board. What's up, bud? How's it going? So with these battery board wires, I don't typically pull them all the way apart. Currently, I've just been playing around with ESP32 types. With these, specifically these Wardriver boards, I've got so many projects though to work with. Don't have Evil Crow, the Panda War, none of that, but I've got Wi-Fi Pineapple, I've got what is it, Hack 1, Marauder, got pies, tons of pies. Just haven't had a chance to do a whole lot with them. Yeah, that new ESP, I need to learn to. I want to learn to code for it. We ought to be able to build a pretty cool Wardriver out of it. But the upcoming Wardriver, or the Signal Sleuth I plan to release, it'll just be standard ESPs and a BW16. So it'll have 3 antennas, but yes, Hack RF1. That's what I was trying to think of. I have not touched it in a long time. I've got a lot of my flipper I haven't got out and actually done anything with in a while. Glad I didn't solder that. More antennas definitely sometimes does. And in this particular case you're talking about, that ESP does have the 5 GHz capabilities, which is nice. I think it's a C5 is what it is. See, it's these little wires that make everything take so long for me. If I could just slot everything in with the pins, then I would be fine. I wouldn't be behind, I'd be caught up. Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I'd really like to learn to code for these and kind of build them myself. Because, everything, even the Signal Sleuth, is just a revision of the Wardriver, which was done by Jay Hewitt. Joseph Hewitt on Twitter, which he's done a lot for the community. Did not strip these wires evenly at all. See, my big thing with a hack RF is it's a giant rabbit hole that I just don't have time to go down. DZ has dug much more into it than I have, and a lot of the stuff I've seen him do with it has made me want to do more with it, but I just haven't taken the time to do anything with it. Alright, for those that don't know, these battery boards do have indicator lights for charging on the back. They're just not seen in any cases. The button, one press, turns everything else on. Screen still works. So I need to run into the other room for a minute, and then I will be back and I will go through a lot of the stuff that other YouTubers have been having issues with and getting this all actually in the case, and some tricks and stuff I've figured out. But I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Where'd my box of cases go? Okay, that should be it. Okay, so first off, I know one of the big issues we keep seeing is getting this thing in, and it is very, very tight. And you do want to make sure you get it underneath over here. One thing that kind of helps is to take and push back while you push down. And then it gets everything snapped in. You do have to push really hard, but it does all go in. After that, what you want to do is go ahead and get your antennas installed. And you can do this, you know, before, you might can do it before you do the battery case. But sometimes they're tight, which is fine. I get tweezers and just try to shove them a little further in. You can also take snippets, sharp edge, anything. I've even been cleaning them off with these tweezers just fine. And then you do have a lock washer and this little, I don't know, whatever that other washer is called. I haven't been including the lock washers just because, I don't know, I guess I'm afraid that you might have an antenna that's got a longer thread, but I don't think that's the case. I could probably include the lock washers and be just fine. I also tighten them down pretty good, so I'm not really worried about them coming loose. Alright. So, don't forget GPS antenna goes on the back. One thing people run into is if this connector touches this battery, you will not get a lock. So whenever you install it, do your best to keep them from touching. It's not going to snap in into a place where it's going to touch it. But I'll show you. Let me get it snapped on. Okay. But if it twists all the way, it touches it. So just keep it decently off. And what I do is I wrap it on the outside of the power wires, then loop it around and put it back in its holder. And from what I can tell, I haven't really had any issues with it touching the battery. And then for this left antenna, I have been putting it on A. I think this was A. I've already forgot. And for the other antenna, I have been putting it on B. Or B and A, I don't remember. It does help me get it just placed and then put something hard and flat over it to snap it on. Those IPEX connectors, UFL, whatever they are, whatever you want to call them, they can get finicky. Okay. So now we tuck everything underneath the wires, kind of angled like that. I typically, let me check one thing. So with the micro SD card, even though they come FAT32, even though they come FAT32, sometimes you still have to format them again. Okay, so if it gets to this connect to screen, then you should be able to, or you should be good. Alright. So now for my little trick with the screen and getting it to work. I get rid of all of these little dimples that are supposed to hold the screen in, because with them on there, I break screens. I have broken too many screens, especially in these assemblies. It's one reason it's taken me so long. Sure, I could go in and modify the case, but it's not my case. I don't like working with meshes, and I don't have the original files, so I don't modify the case. I just cut them off. Go ahead and do the peel. And then the soldered edge goes on the right side. So with them cut off, the screen just slides in. Doesn't break. Of course, watch this one time I end up breaking it, doing it this way too. But it doesn't break. And then I just take my soldering iron and I roll some plastic over the edges. It's just PLA. It's not ABS. So it's not gonna choke you to death. It does smell, and I know some people do have issues even with PLA, so ventilated area if you need to, or get a little carbon filter, which is actually what I have. Use these little Anycubic carbon filters from time to time. And then just get everything fit inside the case. Get it tight. One thing you can do with the wires, if they're getting in between, is you can use tweezers, push them in, pull them, adjust them however you need. I'm just going to put 2 screws in real quick so we can and plug it in, make sure everything works with it completely closed up. I don't have any extra 18650s, so I'm not going to put any in. But just go ahead and plug in USB-C, turn it on. Screen works. I did not crack the screen. So this is the way I would suggest you do it. Live stream I watched the other day of it being put together, he took it and he just snipped off one side and then taped it in. That worked for him. I like it a little more permanent, so I just melt a little bit of plastic. It also saves me from having to find some tape. With the buttons, the button, which this little piece here does slide in right next to the button. They have been coming out oversized, so I take and file them down just a little bit. When I do file them down, I just take and sand one side or file one side and then file along this long edge there with the hook. Just file that outside just a little bit because they can be just a little tight. You click it in and you can hear it. It doesn't get stuck. It's easy to press. Get it plugged in one more time, test it out. Press once, everything lights up, the screen comes on. Press twice, everything turns off. And then we have this dip switch on the other side, this little standard switch. And from what I understand, I haven't looked a whole lot into these batteries, and I typically, when I put them in a Wardriver, that's all they're used for. But you can use this USB-A charging port to charge another device, and for that port to work, you do have to flip the switch, from what I understand. I haven't tested it, but from the data sheet for the battery boards, that is what I've read. Get this one all buttoned up, be done with it. And I'm curious, how long have I been streaming now? About an hour. So even with finish this real quick. So even with me already being what one could consider pretty well halfway done, it still took me an hour to get from this point to this point. So that is why I am so far behind on these. For me to sit down and complete these, it does take a good chunk of time. It's not something I can just do, every few minutes. Whenever I sit down and do them, I'm going to be dedicating a couple hours. Now, obviously, I can get from that point to this point in a little quicker than an hour. I've talked to y'all. I've had to step out for a second. But still, that is a good show of how long it takes me to do one of these. Most of 99, 98% of anyone who's purchased a Wardriver from me, assembled, kit, whatever, y'all have all been great, so I'm very grateful for y'all. None of y'all have really complained or anything about it. It's just, every once in a while there's that one or two people that aren't happy with the timeline, which I completely get. Especially when I said I would have it done in May or whatever all of them were said. I've got 2 batches I'm still working on. I've got the May batch that I haven't even started yet, and this is still the April batch. But I am almost done with the April batch. And then I'll go right into the May batch. I will say, for an upcharge, those that did purchase from the May batch might have the opportunity to upgrade to the Signal Sleuth, depending on how some stuff works out. But when it does come to the Signal Sleuth, my pre-orders will take precedence in the assembly of those. So, but that's where we stand. Let's do something fun real quick before I get back to soldering more of these. Y'all want to see the logo for the Wardriver? The Signal Sleuth? And I can kind of give a sneak peek of the Signal Sleuth. I'll be doing an update video on it sometime soon as well. So, the Signal Sleuth is actually, I have designed it on my ROG Ally, so it is not on my computer, my main computer screen that I do all my streaming and stuff from. But let me pull up some pictures and we'll talk about it. And I'll see if I can pull up the logo as well. So we'll just pull up. Let's see. Stop it. Okay. So here's the Signal Sleuth where it stands. It will work. I've designed it to be the same form factor, or the exact same size. Let me swap back over to camera real quick, overhead. I have designed it to be the exact same size as this board, with holes in the exact same spots, so that we could do a standoff in between them. And if I can find some standoffs, we'll just have it where it directly connects to the power rails on the side. That way we can get rid of all of the wires. So yeah, this is about the size of the new Signal Sleuth. So almost double the size of the old Wardriver, and not much bigger than what the Signal Sleuth started out as. So I think we'll be pretty happy with it, or I'm going to be pretty happy with it anyway. Alright, let's get back to the screen. Okay. So I do plan to have a way up here at the top for the antennas to hard mount to the PCB. Ideally, it'll be cool if they can fit between the Signal Sleuth and the battery board, so that it can even be run without a case, since everything will be soldered on, and I think that'll look really cool. So that'll be one option. And then I have the GPS, the SD card reader, and the LCD screen, and the two ESP32s. They are the exact same as the Wardriver. We are adding a BW16. Currently there are two variants of the BW16. I am trying to design so that both of them will ideally work on this board, but we are running into an issue with one of the BW16s and getting it to actually work and give the info needed. The newer version of the BW16 kit, for some reason, is just, I haven't actually played with it yet, but on some of the guys I've talked to are having issues getting it to work with the 5 GHz mod. Then we still have our temperature sensors as well. I left that involved, and it's located right here in the center. So you'll have the heatsink for the ESP32s here, and the heatsink for the BW16 here. So it'll have a decent read of the temperature of everything in there. It's not going to be the greatest. I'm still thinking about putting a hole in the PCB right here so you can pass through the UFL connectors if these are mounted on the backside through the PCB, and then connect to all the boards without having to go around the PCB, everything being able to stay contained. Up here we have a button cell battery. I need to check that location will even work. I think it's looking like no matter the orientation, it should work. But that button cell is not going to be needed if you use the standard GPS that we use now on the Wardrivers. It will be needed if you use these LC86 GPS modules, which, let me go back to the overhead. Let me find them real quick. I have a couple of them. I keep so many things going on. Everything ends up staying a mess because I put something because I'll remember it, and then I forget it. I have a couple of them somewhere to test. there they are. Let me go back to the overhead. Yes, I'll do the logo just a second. So here is what these GPS modules look like. That will be an option. It'll keep you from having to have an antenna like this because it has a built-on antenna. It would mount directly to the PCB. I don't think you have to have the backup battery for it. I think it'll work without it. It'll just take it longer to receive a lock every time you power it on. But so yeah, I do have 2 of those I plan to test. And this is the GPS unit I'm leaning towards doing for all of the pre-orders. I have to look at the prices because these are quite a bit more expensive than the other ones. So that may not even be feasible for me to do it all. Alright, let me find the logo real quick. Okay. Main screen, there we go. Okay. So here is the logo that AI gave me the idea for, helped give me some parts of it, and then I modified it. Let me know what you think. I don't know how far behind chat is. The little preview's quite far behind. Okay, cool. It's not that far behind. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm very happy with the logo. I love it. It'll be pretty big on the PCB. I'm pretty sure I'm going to turn it into a shirt too. I think it'll be a great shirt and maybe a sticker. Awesome. Glad y'all like it. I showed it to a few others as well, and they have liked it so far. As well, see, this is the hard part. I've still got to wake up in the morning and go to work, but I still have 10 more Wardrivers I'd like to get out tonight, but I don't know if I have the energy to do it. This is one thing I've been running into. If it wasn't for this logo, I would have started a lot earlier tonight. But because of my logo and wanting to get it done so that I could get a test PCB here, I didn't. So while we're hanging out, I don't think I'm going to start another one. I need to get some sleep. I've done a lot of traveling this week. But before I go, any other questions? Anything anybody wants to ask about the Signal Sleuth, the logo, comments, anything? Alright, man. Well, thank y'all for coming and hanging out. I'm going to try to turn at least a little portion of this into a video just to help with Wardriver Assembly. But for the rest of it, I will see y'all all later. Don't hesitate to DM me or message me if y'all have any questions or anything. I think we'll see y'all later.